You know, I was sitting there watching Joe Biden struggling through his interview on The View, and then all of a sudden they cut in because of the white smoke. White smoke, which, by the way, also was coming out of Joe Biden's ears. Could have been dust. Could have been dust. I'm not sure which one it was. What's up? This is Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. By the way, I stand by this statement. I stand by this statement. I truly believe, I firmly believe that White Smoke would be an amazing band name. White Smoke would be it'd be an amazing band name, especially for like a Christian rock band. Maybe like Catholic rockers. They come out, they do some Catholic rock music, and they call themselves White Smoke. Not to be confused with White Snake. You know, here I go again on my own. That was a great song. Maybe like here I pope again on my own. Look, we're live in I'm live in Italy. I got the live stream going, and we're checking out Lollapalooza. And the White Smoke about a little over 45 minutes ago. Oh, looks like something's happening. Oh, they're just on camera. They're just excited they're on camera. A little over 40 minutes ago, right when I was putting the finishing touches on this show, right when I was putting together what I thought was going to be a really fantastic and exciting thumbnail for this show about Trump or trans, the new game that Jasmine Crockett played, all of a sudden the White Smoke started billowing, and I was like, oh, there goes everything. That's what happens when you're in the news business. This is why sometimes I don't even plan a show. But don't worry, we're going to get to the Trump or Trans. Trump or Trans could be one of my new favorite games. Also, we'll get to some of these Joe Biden clips. And there was a press conference earlier today. President Donald Trump was in the White House. He was in the Oval Office. And he was on the phone with Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, where they announced an incredible deal, a really amazing deal. Like I said, we're going to cover all the news, but we have to wait. The Pope, this is big news, so we got to wait for the Pope to come out. The good news is they timed it pretty well so that it should be any minute now. And there's tens of thousands of people at the Vatican, tens of thousands of people in St. Peter's Square, right in front of the Basilica. And there's a balcony. Now, as far as I know, the way they say it is, or what's supposed to happen is, we're going to see, first of all, the Cardinal come out, and the Cardinal's going to say, hey, we have a pope, but he's going to say it in Latin. It's going to be like Habemus Papa or something like that. And then, which sounds kind of like a Harry Potter spell, doesn't it? Like Wingardium Leviosa, Wingardium Popiosa. And then the Pope flies out on the balcony. But anyway, so the Cardinal comes out and says, we have a pope. Then what happens is, after the Cardinal comes out and announces that we have a Pope, he announces the Pope's God-given name, which will be, the name he was born with. There's the name you're born with, and then there's the name that you choose as Pope, because when you're Pope, you have to pick a new name. They don't want you to use your regular name. You have to, like my name's Mark Kaye, but if I were Pope, I'd have to pick a brand new name. I would probably pick something similar. Like I would say, if they're like, you can't be Mark anymore, I'd be like, okay, I'll be Marco, which I don't know if I could get away with that, but probably Pope Marco. But and then someone would yell Polo. That's what I would do. Pope Marco Polo. That's when it was. Anyway, I'm in a really good mood today. If you haven't been able to tell. So anyway, so what happens is then the Pope comes out. And we're going to find out, we're going to get our first look at the Pope. Now, there are, just like every leadership position in the world, there are, I don't want to say good popes and bad popes, but let's just say that there's conservative popes and there's not so conservative popes, or what you might call liberal popes. There's popes who, think like you and I do, could be considered, I don't know, I'm not going to say America first, but but like common sense. They go by the Bible. And longest running popes, he then said, you know what? I'm going to pick John Paul as my name. I'll be John Paul II in honor of John Paul I. And then he was like there for like 33 years or something like that. But we're just waiting. This is what we're doing. We're just waiting on the Pope. Now, while we're waiting for the Pope to make himself known. Wait, what is happening here to my? There you go. While we're waiting on the Pope to make himself known. I would like to remind you that if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, then now would be a fantastic time to do it. In fact, let me hit the little subscribe button there. If you're listening on YouTube, or if you're watching on Rumble, or if you're watching on Facebook, make sure that you follow this page. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you set the notifications. If there's like a little ding-a-ling, like a little bell, make sure you hit the bell, because that's how you're going to know. That's how you're going to know every time we go live, every time we post a video, every time we post content. And like I said, we do that quite a bit. The other thing we want you to do is, if you're listening to the podcast, please make sure that you subscribe to the podcast as well. Please make sure you're following the podcast, because then it's always going to be there for you. It's always going to be there as soon as you you go to your podcast platform, whatever it is, or plug in your earbuds or whatever, that's going to be right. You're going to just start hearing my voice, which is really a dream come true for a lot of people, a nightmare for others, but a dream come true for a lot of people. So make sure you subscribe quickly while we wait for the Pope. Now, it was interesting because when I woke up this morning and I got into the office and I sat down, the first thing I saw was like 6 something. The first thing I saw was that there was black smoke, because they had there's like a time difference. I think it's almost 8 p.m. there. It's evening there. The sun's going to be setting. So there's this time difference between us and Rome. And the first thing I saw was black smoke, no Pope. And I thought, okay, well, we're going to just be staring at this chimney for another couple days. 600-year-old chimney. Oh, fun fact. The chimney's not 600 years old. I learned this because you know how people are like sticklers for everything. You say something and then someone has to go, well, Mark, technically that's inaccurate. You know how that happens? you know how like you put something online and then immediately 482 people tell you you're an idiot? Well, that happens all the time. And so I wrote something about, looking at a 600-year-old chimney again. And like 8 people wrote to me and said, the building at the Vatican that you're looking at is only 544 years old, and the chimney was replaced 10 years ago because it got knocked over by a bird, or I don't know, something happened. So anyway, so I learned the truth, and the truth of the matter is that it's not as old as you think it is, but it doesn't matter. The tradition is centuries old. And the black smoke came out, which meant there was no Pope this morning, so I thought we're going to be staring at this chimney. But like I said, about an hour ago, it's been an hour now. We're late, by the way. Traditionally, what would happen is the Pope would be selected, the white smoke would start billowing out of the chimney, and then as soon as that happened, you could count like an hour. Within 40 minutes to an hour, the new Pope would be announced, and the new Pope would come out, and everyone would be joyous and excited. But it's been over an hour now, and we have not yet seen the Pope. We've not yet seen activity. We have not yet seen the Cardinal coming out to announce who the new Pope is going to be. So I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe they're having trouble with his garments, because he has to change into the papal garments for the first time. There's a little room right off the balcony called the Room of Tears. Don't ask me why it's called the Room of Tears, because I don't know, and I would just make something up that's probably believable but not true. But it's called the Room of Tears, and they go into the little Room of Tears, and that's where they have all the papal garments, and they can choose. There's not just like one set. They can come out in basic plain white clothes with a little white hat like Francis was seen in a lot, or they could come out in like the big garb with the red robes. They can pick whatever they want. They dress themselves. They're grown men, these popes. So they get to decide what they're out. It's not like, it's not like my wife who picks up my clothes, or like I walk out, she goes, "You're not wearing that, are you?" And I go, clearly I was going to, because I'm dressed in it. But no, they don't. They just pick whatever they want. So then the Pope will come out, and we're kind of going to get a glimpse of what kind of, like, is he going to be a fashion forward Pope? Is he going to be like a glitzy Pope, or is he going to be like a subdued kind of cool? But no one knows yet who the Pope is. I mean, they do know, but they're not telling us. They're going to tell us here in just a minute. Now the crowd, they just cheer, and oh, here we go. They're opening the door. Glitzy Pope, or let's see what happens. Here comes the Pope. All right, this is the Cardinal.
Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum. Habemus papam.
Okay, so he said, we have an announcement. Or I have an announcement. We have a pope.
Eminentissimum, ac reverendissimum Dominum, Dominum Robertum Franciscum, Sancte Romane Ecclesiae, Cardinalem Prevost,
Cardinal
qui
Maprevosta.
sibi nomen imposuit Leonem decimum quartum.
All right, so that was all Latin. And what it means is, hang on, let me turn this up so I can hear what it means. Cardinal of... Hang on, I'm listening to it back so I can make sure. Okay, so he picked a new name, Cardinal something or other. All right, I'm going to get the translation of that. Hang on, here we go. And then we're going to find out who the new pope is. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is this a good pope or a bad pope? And we're going to find that out too. Okay, he's Pope Leo the 14th, and it's Cardinal Provost. So Cardinal Provost is the new pope, and he will be Pope Leo the 14th. And I'm trying to see what kind of pope Provost will be. I'm looking for his name. I have a whole list of all the cardinals who were like, I'm looking at the, hold on, we're starting with the, let's go to the moderately conservative first. I see no provost. It's not looking good. I was hoping Pizza Balla, because there's a guy named Pizza Balla, Pier Battista Pizza Balla, but Pizza Balla was not it. He was not chosen. So provost, it looks like it's not going to be, it's going to be some kind of centrist or progressive pope, which seems like, where is it? It doesn't even look like it's one of the highlighted, but they highlight the popes that are most common. Oh, right now we're into like progressive. We're into like super progressive. I don't even see this guy's name anywhere. He could be one of the most progressive popes we've ever had. Let's see. Did he say provost? I don't even see this guy's name anywhere. All right, hold on. Let me find provost. Search. It doesn't even show. Oh, Oh, he's American. Wait, what? American cardinal announced as new pope? Hold on, shut up. He's American? How do we get an American pope? That's crazy. Hold on, I gotta switch channels here. Hold on, we're gonna switch. That's amazing that we have an American pope. Donald Trump. Wait, is it Donald Trump? No, it's not Donald Trump. All right, let's see who this new pope is. We've never had an American pope. Robert Prevost. Next pope. Look at this. This is amazing. An American pope. This is truly historic. Wow. Wow. This is amazing. You know that these Europeans are going to be all ticked off now that we have an American pope. That is just crazy. The first American pope ever. Hang on, we're going to get some information about this guy. Let me go here to Newsmax real quick. This is amazing. This is wild. So we're gonna chill out on that. This is wild. I did not count on an American pope. I'm gonna be honest with you. I did not have that on my 2025 bingo card. Wow. There's like helicopters flying over. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. All right, this is wild. So we're going to Wow, hold on. I'm gonna pick out Leo the 14th. I like Leo. By the way, that's my dog's name, so he's gonna be thrilled. But hold on, let me go back to the website here to make sure that I can get all my due diligence on Conclavoscope. Here we go. His name is Provost, right? Is that what we said? And here we go. The Catholic Church has a new shepherd. Let us unite our prayers to support our new Holy Father in his apostolic mission, Leo the 14th, Robert Francis Provost. This is great. I had no idea they would ever pick an American pope, but they have. They've chosen an American pope. Hold on, I'm going to search this.
If you're just joining us, Leo the 14th, Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost from Chicago.
He's from Chicago.
America, we have an American pope for the first time, 69 years old, born September 14th, 1955, graduated with a degree in science and mathematics in 1977 from Villanova University.
Oh, he went to Villanova.
Also science and mathematics in 1977. He's known as a pragmatist, Father Murray, but maybe more in line Father Murray with the approach of Pope Francis. Is that fair?
Me here. I would think so.
He's known as a pragmatist, Father Murray, but
why am I hearing this twice? Hang on.
Dicastery for bishops. So he's responsible for the department that names the bishops throughout the world. And the Papal States, Pius IX was his predecessor. He also restored Thomistic philosophy and theology as an important thing in the church. He's also the Pope of the labor encyclicals, recognizing the right to organize. So he really, Leo XIII is a very important Pope historically.
Father Kaye, appointed by Pope Francis as a cardinal in September of 2023, so not long ago.
He's a baby cardinal, and now the first ever American pope, which is absolutely extraordinary. Everyone has said in the past that they'll never elect an American because America is still the leader of the world and they won't be allowed to lead the church. But now we have an American pope.
Yeah, how stunning is that to you?
Again, I'm flabbergasted.
That is wild.
Have either of you met
No.
Cardinal Prevost?
I've never met him, no.
His father, born in America, mother Spanish. We know he spent many years as a missionary in Latin America, in Peru, specifically Father Murray.
Yes, he was in Bishop Chiclayo, which is a mountainous region in Peru, and yeah, he's definitely a missionary. He's an Augustinian. They're famous in America because they run Villanova University, which has always had great basketball. But they are also a missionary order, and they serve in different countries, particularly in Latin America.
Villanova University now has their most notable alumnus.
I would think so.
In the Pope of 1.4 billion
no longer
Catholics.
Jalen Brunson.
Gentlemen, we've been talking about this for the last.
I mean, that's wild. I can't believe. Think about that. Villanova University now has a pope. I mean, it's true. They have like an NCAA tournament title, and they have a pope.
That is he on the left.
Yes.
And the Cardinals are greeting him.
Yes.
I'm excited to see what an American pope looks like. Probably he'll be. They think he's going to be wearing like blue jeans or something, right? So this is wild. I didn't. Now he is more moderate to progressive, so he's not going to be a conservative pope. That's the bad news.
He became a priest in 1981.
He became a priest. He has only been a priest since 1981.
44 years ago.
That doesn't seem like a long time.
So under John Paul II, he was so a John Paul II priest, we could say.
Yes.
Huh. Very interesting.
The cardinals are gathered on their side balustrades. Yeah, there are balustrades on either side of the loggia, the central part where the red curtains are, and they are gathering there to see the Pope give his greetings and his first blessing.
Can I get your reaction to this selection? Does this mean that, we know that Pope Francis elected at least 2/3 of the cardinal electors, or appointed them to cardinal, and it seems like they may have had more sway in the Sistine Chapel than I think we all thought.
I think that's a good analysis. Certainly naming someone that the Pope himself had put as one of his principal assistants to be the successor of Pope Francis indicates a desire to continue with his agenda, synodality, things of that sort, a church where we involve lay people in more roles.
A guess, we're just analyzing this as we get the news right now, but is it a fair assessment to say that Pope Francis would have approved of this appointment?
Without a doubt.
And here we go.
Yeah, so Pope Francis's protege, basically, or his popage, has been chosen. So again, we're not going to get more conservative. Oh, here he comes. There's the big cross, the big gold cross. And here's the Pope. Look at that. Pope Leo the 14th. Graduate of Villanova University. Huh. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I didn't think that with President Donald Trump as president, they would have selected the American Pope, but they did. They did. I guess this guy made an impression. And it was only after 4 ballots that we got the white smoke, too. So that's fairly quick is what they're saying. Pardon me, is what they're saying. Word on the street is 4 ballots is pretty quick for a pope to have been chosen. That typically it takes longer. Typically there's more back and forth. Typically there's more debating, that kind of thing. But interesting. Everybody cheering and screaming and yelling and looking at this guy. Here's the thing. I'm going to be honest with you. Popes don't usually, they all kind of look alike, right? Like they're old. This guy's got glasses. They've got like really tightly cropped gray hair. They put a little white beanie on it. They all kind of look alike. So it's not like you go, wow, it's an old man dressed like the Pope. But again, it's exciting that we do have a Pope and an American Pope. It is really, Donald Trump's going to be like, all right, I gotta meet this Pope. He's going to invite him to the White House, probably, he was just in Italy for the funeral of Pope Francis. Now, I imagine this Pope is not going to go anywhere near J.D. Vance. I imagine J.D. Vance is not going to get an audience with this Pope. He's going to be like, keep that guy away from me. Keep him away from me. Not only do we think that he may have done something to the last Pope, but he went to Ohio State, and I went to Villanova, so I don't want anything. It's weird to think that this guy in 1981 was like just kicking it at Villanova, and now he's the leader of like billions of Catholics.
For Pope Prevost Leo the 14th to address the world. Here we go.
He called him Pope Prevost. It's Leo the 14th. Here we go. Here's what he's going to say. Here's the first words.
La pace sia con tutti voi.
He sounds like an American trying to speak a foreign language. I'm going to be honest with you.
Fratelli, sorelle carissimi, questo è il primo saluto del Cristo risorto, il buon pastore che ha dato la vita per il gregge di Dio. Anch'io vorrei che questo saluto di pace entrasse nel vostro cuore, raggiungesse le vostre famiglie, a tutte le persone, ovunque siano, a tutti I popoli, a tutta la terra. La pace sia con voi.
Something about peace be with you. To all of the people, to all of the population, to all of the world, peace be with you. That's what he's basically praying now. This is how all the Catholic prayers start. So, and for those of you that don't speak Latin, I don't either, but I do recognize, Padre terra, blah blah blah, and pace con noi. It's like Spanish, basically. It's like the OG Spanish. Latin basically became Spanish somewhere down the road, and Spanish and Italian and everything else.
Questa è la pace di Cristo risorto, una pace disarmata e una pace disarmante, umile e perseverante. Proviene da Dio, Dio che ci ama a tutti incondizionalmente. Ancora conserviamo nei nostri orecchi quella voce debole ma sempre coraggiosa di Papa Francesco che benediva Roma. Il Papa che benediva Roma dava la sua benedizione al mondo intero, quella mattina del giorno di Pasqua. Consentitemi di dar seguito a quella stessa benedizione. Dio ci vuole bene, Dio vi ama tutti e il male
God be with
non
you all.
prevarrà. Siamo tutti nelle mani di Dio. Pertanto, senza paura, uniti, mano nella mano con Dio,
Hand
e
in
tra
hand
di
with
noi
God. I got that one.
andiamo avanti. Siamo discepoli di Cristo. Cristo ci precede. Il mondo ha bisogno della sua luce. L'umanità necessita di Lui come il ponte per essere raggiunta da Dio e dal suo amore. Aiutateci anche voi, poi gli uni gli altri, a costruire i ponti con il dialogo, con l'incontro, unendoci tutti per essere un solo popolo, sempre in pace. Grazie a Papa Francesco.
Always in peace. Oh, thank you, Pope Francis. He says. So it's Italian, not Latin. I was wrong earlier. It's Italian he's speaking. Grazie, Papa Francesco. Is he saying thank you, Pope Francis, for
Voglio ringraziare
passing
anche
away?
tutti i confratelli cardinali che hanno scelto me per essere successore di Pietro e camminare insieme a voi come Chiesa unita, cercando sempre la pace, la giustizia, cercando sempre lavorare come uomini e donne fedeli a Gesù Cristo, senza paura, per proclamare il Vangelo, per essere missionari.
Something about proclaiming justice and love. You know, all the good stuff. Justice, love, Jesus, God. It's very similar. I mean, what's he going to say? Oh, here we go.
Un figlio di Sant'Agostino, agostiniano, che ha detto: con voi sono cristiano e per voi vescovo. In questo senso possiamo tutti camminare insieme verso quella patria la quale Dio ci ha preparato.
Clearly Italian, not his first language, not his idioma proximo.
Alla Chiesa di Roma, un saluto speciale.
So now he's got to live in Rome. Like, this guy's probably, he might come back to the United States like
Dobbiamo
one
cercare
time.
insieme come essere una Chiesa missionaria, una Chiesa che costruisce i ponti, il dialogo, sempre aperta a ricevere, come questa piazza con le braccia aperte, a tutti coloro che hanno bisogno della nostra carità, la nostra presenza, il dialogo, l'amore.
He says tutti a lot, which I think is very,
Y
right?
se me
Isn't
permiten
tutti?
también una
Tutti
palabra, un saludo a todos aquellos, y en modo particular a mi querida diócesis de Chiclayo en el Perú. Donde un pueblo fiel ha acompañado a su obispo, ha compartido su fe y ha dado tanto para seguir siendo iglesia fiel de Jesucristo. A tutti voi, fratelli e sorelle di Roma, d'Italia, di tutto il mondo, vogliamo essere una Chiesa sinodale, una Chiesa che cammina, una Chiesa che cerca sempre la pace, cerca sempre la carità, cerca sempre di essere vicino, specialmente a coloro che soffrono.
Yeah, no, I'm lost. Something about something Italian. But, all right, so he's going to wrap up his speech here, hopefully soon.
Oggi, il giorno della supplica alla Madonna di Pompei.
Oh, the Lady of Pompeii.
Nostra Madre Maria vuole sempre camminare con noi, stare vicino, aiutarci con la sua intercessione e il suo amore. Allora vorrei pregare insieme a voi. Preghiamo insieme per questa nuova missione, però per tutta la Chiesa, per la pace nel mondo, e chiediamo questa grazia speciale di Maria, nostra Madre. Ave Maria, piena di grazia, il Signore è con te. Tu sei benedetta fra le donne e benedetto è il frutto del tuo seno, Gesù. Santa Maria, Madre di Dio, prega per noi peccatori, adesso e nell'ora della nostra morte.
Okay.
Amen.
Now that we're doing the Hail Mary, I got it. In Italian, which is, I guess, the way to do it. I mean, they all seem really excited, except for that one guy up front who's not clapping. But everyone seems, I don't know if they're excited just because there's a pope. I don't know if they're excited because, the microphone's gone. So I guess he's done. So now the microphone's gone. He's standing there. I don't know what happens next. I don't know if there's like there's got to be some kind of ceremony. Maybe they put like,
Santo Padre Leone,
here we go.
a tutti i fedeli presenti e a quelli che ricevono la sua benedizione a mezzo della radio, della televisione e delle altre tecnologie di comunicazione, concede l'indulgenza plenaria nella forma stabilita dalla Chiesa.
Something about radio, TV, and the
Preghiamo
internet.
Dio Onnipotente perché conservi a lungo il Papa a guida della Chiesa e conceda pace e unità alla Chiesa in tutto il mondo.
In all the world. Is that it? Oh no, here they come. I mean, he's from the United States. Maybe he could say something in English. Like, like a little, throws a little what's up, or a little USA.
Sancti
USA. Oh, here we
Apostoli
go.
Petrus et Paulus.
Now they're praying
De
again.
quorum potestate et auctoritate confidimus. Ipsi intercedat pro nobis ad Dominum. Amen.
Amen, yeah.
Precibus et meritis Beate Mariae semper Virginis, Beati Michaelis Arcangeli, Beati Ioannis Baptiste, et Sanctorum Apostolorum Petri et Pauli et omnium Sanctorum. Misereatur vestri omnipotens Deus, et dimissis omnibus peccatis vestris, perducat vos Iesus Christus ad vitam aeternam.
By the way, the book he's reading from looks exactly like I would think it would look.
Indulgentiam, absolutionem, et remissionem omnium peccatorum vestrorum, spatium vere et fructuose penitentiae, cor semper penitens, et emendationem vitae, gratiam et consolationem Sancti Spiritus, et finalem perseverantiam in bonis operibus tribuat vobis omnipotens et misericors Dominus.
Amen. Yeah, there we go.
Et benedictio Dei omnipotentis, Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti,
Yeah.
descendat super vos et maniat semper.
All right. I'm still waiting. There must not be a lot of Americans there, because if there were Americans there, they would have been chanting USA, USA by now. I see the French flag. I saw some Canadians earlier. I saw a Ukraine flag, because those are everywhere. And here's the thing about the Ukraine flag. You can never actually tell if it's someone from Ukraine or someone that just likes the flag and is waving it. Oh, there's the Americans. There they are. They're on TV now. They're excited. All right. Are we done? All right. So the Pope is standing there in front of all the faithful, and they're all applauding and cheering. And he's looking down upon them after giving his little speech and making his little prayer. And it's American Robert Prevost, elected Pope. And now he appears to just be waving at people at this point. So I think we're probably done with the whole Pope part. Yeah, they started the music back up. All right, good. So it looks like he's just going to stand there. And look, I'm excited as the next person that there's a new pope because, again, we don't have to stare at the chimney anymore. And this pope, I mean, like I said, I didn't expect there to be change. I didn't expect there to be a dramatic shift to the right or to the conservative, beginnings of the Catholic Church. It is what it is. Amen. Hallelujah. There you go. All right, let's get to some. I imagine this is going to be going on for quite some time. Now, the good news is it's going to be dark soon. So eventually, I guess everyone's going to have to go home, or maybe they'll turn on some lights or something. Let's see if they're. Yeah, they've got the band playing. They're playing "Hail to the Pope," I think is what that's called. Hail to the Pope. Yeah. Something like that. And then, they're going to go. Then there's going to be prayers all night. I imagine there's probably some kind of big banquet. I imagine that all the cardinals that have come from all over the world, because look, they've been there. They took time off. They scheduled for days. They didn't know how long it was going to take. And they got their votes in. So now they're going to be like, let's get some dinner. Maybe crack open some wine. I hear the Vatican has an amazing wine cellar. So they're going to, and then they're going to celebrate with the new Pope. And they're going to, talk about whatever. By the way, would you call this Pope music? Talk about Pope music. Sorry. I'm going to get to the other stuff. I'm just waiting for the initial excitement from the Pope Leo the 14th to die down a little bit. And as soon as it looks like he's going to stand there he looks a little awkward. Like he's not sure exactly what to do. I think he just turned to somebody and said, how long do I stand here and just look at people? How long are they going to cheer? And okay, now he's gone. All right. Now the Pope's out. So there you go. So the Pope is out and the curtain's closing, and there we go. That was exciting. that was exciting, man. I gotta be honest. I even forgot what I was going to talk about today. I even forgot what was going on in the news before the white smoke started billowing out of the chimney. And I was like, oh, that's it. We're talking about the Pope for an hour. Anyway, listen, it's exciting. And thank you so much again for being here. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not yet subscribed to the channel. And I feel like it's so funny. I feel like I've done an entire show, but it's really only been 5 minutes of me talking. And the rest of the time, me listening to this old man speaking Italian. But speaking of old men, let's get back to it, shall we? Let's get back to all the old men here in this country who are making headlines. And let's start with, should we start with Bernie Sanders or should we start with Joe Biden? I guess we'll start with Joe Biden because Joe Biden yesterday did it. He's back on tour. I'm not really sure why, but he's back on tour. And Joe Biden, he went on the BBC yesterday. We have that entire interview. It was about 20 minutes. I didn't have a chance to cut it up yet, but not really much to it. He went on The View this morning with his wife, Dr. Jill Biden. And this, again, in true Joe Biden fashion, he goes on The View the same day that we pick a new pope. So while everyone was sitting down to turn on Joe Biden on The View, just kidding, nobody watches that show, all of a sudden the white smoke started billowing and Joe Biden got upstaged by Leo the 14th. He got upstaged by Cardinal Provost, who became the next pope of became the next pope of the Catholic Church. And so, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Joe Biden was on The View and he was making a fool of himself. He was complaining about Kamala Harris. He was complaining about sexism. And they asked him, why do you think Kamala Harris lost? Here's what he said.
But Mr. President, last time you were here was a little over a month before the election, and you had made the selfless and very difficult decision, I'm sure, to step aside. And Democrats were feeling optimistic about the vice president's chances of winning the presidency. But then election night came, and it was like 2016 all over again. Yeah. So why do you think the vice president lost, and were you surprised?
I wasn't surprised, not because I didn't think the vice president was the most qualified person to be president. She is. She's qualified to be president of the United States of America. Right. But I was surprised. I wasn't surprised because they went the route of the sexist route, the whole route. I mean, this is a woman. She's this. She's that. I mean, it really. I've never seen quite as successful and a consistent campaign undercutting the notion that a woman couldn't lead the country and a woman of mixed race. Yeah. And they played that to a fairly well.
So Joe Biden's out there saying that because she was black or Indian or whatever. And because she was a woman, she lost. And that's why, because America is still racist and misogynist. Now, the fact that she wasn't anywhere near qualified to be president of the United States doesn't enter his mind. Not a lot enters his mind, and anything that does enter his mind quickly leaves. It's just, in one ear out the other. But this is the lie. This is one of the big lies, the myths that the Democrat Party continues to push. They choose these candidates based solely on their sex, based solely on their race. They put them out. They have no qualifications. And then when they fail miserably, they blame racism and sexism. They don't blame. And, again, it's I guess when you don't have a solid plan to make America great again, when you don't have any good ideas, when your whole agenda is let's deny the science and then tell people to believe the science, let's deny the science of human sexuality, but then tell people to believe the science of Dr. Fauci, when that's your whole back and forth agenda, when you're when everything you say is hypocritical and nonsensical, I guess you really can't say, well, Kamala Harris had better ideas and she was more qualified. I'm not sure why she lost. You have to go, well, she clearly lost because she was a black woman. Because she became a black person, which is still one of the greatest presidential quotes, I think, in the history of our country. He also was asked about some of the reporting about his mental decline. Alyssa Farah Griffin, who still claims to be a Republican. I don't know why. I don't know how she can claim that. I don't know if she's got some kind of card that we can revoke from her. I don't know if she's in some kind of club that we can kick her out of. But she still claims that she's the Republican on The View. Here's what she said.
Mr. President, since you left office, there have been a number of books that have come out deeply sourced from Democratic sources that claim in your final year there was a dramatic decline in your cognitive abilities. In the final year of your presidency, what is your response to these allegations, or are these sources wrong?
They are wrong. There's nothing to sustain that, number one. Number two, think of what we were left with. We were left with a circumstance where we had an insurrection when I started, not since the Civil War. We had a circumstance where we were in a position that the pandemic, because of the incompetence of the last outfit, end up over 1 million people dying, And we're also in a situation where we found ourselves unable to deal with a lot of just basic issues, and which I won't go into in the interest of time.
So Joe Biden, by the way, this is hilarious. Joe Biden was asked, hey, is there anything to all these books being written about your cognitive decline? And then he goes on to mumble through this weird answer and say, there's a bunch of issues I'm not going to get into.
And so we went to work and we got it done. And, one of the things that and
Alyssa, one of the things.
And there's his wife. So this guy, in asking, he's trying. The question was, is there any truth to these books and these reports of your cognitive decline, that you weren't mentally capable to be president? And Joe Biden, in answering that question, can't even find the words to say no, there's not. His wife has to come to his rescue.
I think is that the people who wrote those books were not in the White House with us. And they didn't see how hard Joe worked every single day. I mean, he'd get up, he'd put in a full day, and then at night I'd be in bed, reading my book, and he was still on the phone, reading his briefings, working with staff. I mean, it was nonstop. It's the White House, being president is not like a job. It's a lifestyle. It's a life that you live. You live it 24 hours a day. That phone can ring at 11 o'clock at night or 2 in the morning. It's constant. You never leave it. And Joe worked really hard. I think he was a great president. And if you look at things today...
By the way, is Joe Biden still there? Is he? I mean, he's just staring down at his coffee mug. Does he even know what's happening? Does he know who he's sitting next to? Does he have any clue? Is he falling asleep? I don't understand. This is, again, a question about his cognitive ability on The View, and he's sitting there staring off into space.
If you look at things today, give me Joe Biden anytime.
That's worth the invitation to come to the show.
Then they asked him about whether or not he could beat President Donald Trump. Now, keep in mind, Joe Biden was basically shivved by his own party. The strongest, the most powerful people in the Democrat Party took a look at him and said, "Yeah, no, hard pass. That's not our guy. That guy can't beat Donald Trump." Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, the Obamas, Susan Rice, whoever else, the guy that with all the money, George Soros, all these people took a look at Joe Biden and said, that guy cannot win. That guy cannot beat Donald Trump. He had the lowest approval rating of any president in history. He had an economy which was in the toilet. He could barely speak. He had one of the worst debate performances ever. And everybody just thought to himself, there's no way that they were shocked that he got through the 4 years that he was elected to, let alone another 4 years in addition to that. But Joe Biden, for whatever reason, still believes, even though nobody in his party did, that he could have beaten Donald Trump had he been given the choice.
Well, Mr. President, you had previously said that you thought that you would have won. Since then, Donald Trump won all the battleground states and made inroads with almost every major demographic, from working class voters to Hispanic men to black men. Knowing what you know now, do you think you would have beat him?
Yeah, he still got 7 million fewer votes.
Yes.
Okay. A lot of people didn't show up. Number one. Number two, they're very close in those toss-up states. It was it wasn't a slam dunk, and look, every time I've been on the show, which I've been fortunate to be on more than once. Thanks for having me. Is that we talk, you guys don't focus on as much, and I think it's good, on polling numbers, but let me put it this way. He's had the worst 100 days any president's ever had.
Yeah, that's a fact.
How is that a fact, by the way? Not one of those things that Joe Biden said was true. First of all, 7 million people did not vote, did not just skip out on the election because Kamala Harris was the candidate. The fact that he brings up the 7 million people, the disparity of 7 million votes that he received that Kamala Harris did not, and that President Donald Trump, by the way, didn't get either. Joe Biden supposedly got 81 million votes and beat President Donald Trump, who got a record number of votes, 75 million. Then, fast forward, Kamala Harris couldn't even beat Donald Trump, and Donald Trump won with 77 million. So where did the other 4 or 5 million votes go? Where are these people? He's just saying that they all sat out because he wasn't running, because he wasn't on the ticket. Also, when you talk about polling, the polling numbers for Donald Trump's first 100 days, first of all, they come from questionable sources, but the polling numbers for Joe Biden's last 100 days were the worst we've seen in history. That's why he got shivved by his own party, and that's why he wasn't on the ticket. Now, President Donald Trump, meanwhile, has been, I got to say, busier than any president we've seen. Donald Trump this morning already called a press conference to announce a trade deal with the UK. He had Keir Starmer on the phone. He had his whole team around him. He had the press corps come in, and they fired up the old press conference. And President Donald Trump said, "Look, we have a big announcement."
I just want to begin by saying that this is a very special day because it's Victory Day, World War II, May 8th. And just by happenstance, we have the Prime Minister on the phone, and we were great allies in that. And it's very unusual that the trade deal comes due, and we signed it up on the same day that we had a great victory, the greatest victory of them all. So we are talking more and more about Victory Day because we were a big part of it, and so was the UK. And it's just, I guess, I don't know what you call it. It's just incredible that that day is the same day that we signed a tremendous trade deal for both countries. So I'm going to begin by just adding that we just concluded the rare earth deal with Ukraine. That's been fully ratified and approved by their legislative branches. And so we appreciate that. And I'll be speaking with the president in a little while, a little bit later. And we appreciate that. But the deal is all now signed up and ratified. And we have access to a massive amount of very, very high quality rare earth.
Now, Donald Trump has already, in just 100 days, come to an agreement with Ukraine, solidifying the fact that we now have access to their rare earth minerals. That builds our economy, that boosts our manufacturing, that makes us a technological powerhouse. And guess what? It keeps Ukraine safe because now America has a direct investment in the country. And with a direct investment in the country, with this deal signed, that's a signal to Russia that you better stop messing with Ukraine. That's a signal to Russia that we have a solid economic interest. We are sending Americans over there. And if any Americans are harmed, there's going to be hell to pay. This is step one. Step two is, of course, the ceasefire agreement, or really the end of the war at this point. That's hopefully going to be on the horizon. But President Donald Trump also saying, look, and we have a historic deal with the UK. England has stepped up to the plate. They walked on in. They called me up and they said, we want to make a deal. And we have now a historic agreement once again on the anniversary, on the 80th anniversary of VE Day, Victory in Europe Day. We now have an agreement with the UK. We are going to be trading partners in a fair and free manner. And it's going to make America and the UK the dominant superpowers, as they have been, or, we have been, but they'll be riding our coattails to victory again. And it puts China again in a more precarious position as Scott Bessent and everyone else goes out to start making a deal with them in Geneva this weekend. The timing of this is not unplanned. The timing of this is specific. Donald Trump wanted these things done in a specific order. And now that UK has come to the table, and they did it on a ceremony, on a historically significant day, and it's just days before China sits down with the same team. NATO Ambassador Matthew Whitaker was interviewed about this deal with the UK. He said it's incredible for the United States.
Give us your reaction first to this deal with the UK.
Well, this is a huge deal, and obviously President Trump is the only one that can get a deal like this done. And I would expect that there is a whole bunch of other deals that are sort of lined up. Obviously, I know that China wants to talk now, and so many other countries want to talk, including the EU. And so, this is a great announcement, and obviously it's just the first of many more to come. And remember, President Trump got elected on an America First platform. I was out there on the campaign trail with him, and what he said he would deliver is he's starting to deliver, and this is extraordinary.
The UK, by the way, is the first. And you may remember President Donald Trump, Eric Trump, Don Jr., they all said something along the same lines of, look, we want to do deals with everyone. But if you're first to the table, you're going to get the best deal. And the longer you wait, the last guy to the table, we may not even make a deal with because we're not going to need you anymore. The last country to step up and say, hey, let's make a deal is not going to be happy with the deal that they make. The UK heeded that warning and they came up first and they got the first deal. They got the best deal. Now, everybody else in Europe, everybody else in the EU, all of these other countries, and every country has tariffs. Don't forget, these were blanket tariffs, reciprocal tariffs on every other country. If you tariff us 345% on something, we're going to tariff you 345% on something. If you tariff us 700% on rice, Japan, then we're going to tariff you 700% on, probably not rice because I think they have enough of it, but something else that might be of value to you, like, I don't know, Levi's jeans. Anything at all that comes from America is going to be tariffed. And that's how this game works. And President Donald Trump is winning. He's winning because he has a deal in place with UK. He has China coming to the table. He has everyone else falling in line. And as a result, we're starting to see not just money coming in the form of tariffs, but manufacturing jobs. We're starting to see new manufacturing plants being built here in the United States of America. And also that brings with it a whole bunch of national security. And national security is important. Economic security is national security. And Kevin Hassett, who is the National Director of the Economic Council, or the Director of the National Economic Council, one of those, you know who he is. He's the guy from the White House with the glasses. He talks like Peabody and Sherman. But he had some interesting things to say as well about wages being up, and the wages being up being a direct result of President Donald Trump's deals that he's making to bring manufacturing back to the country. And I had the clip, and I don't know. Here it is right here. Listen.
The bottom line is that President Trump's America First, American Worker First agenda in the first term made it so that wages went up by $6,500. Wages went up by between 2017 and 2019 by more for people at the bottom than people at the top. Income inequality declined because of the policies that we're now multiplying by 2. And so to oppose those is to oppose reductions in income inequality, oppose growth in real wages, growth of jobs. And the people that are opposing that, I don't know what they're really standing for, but it's certainly not the American people.
Yeah, what he's saying is that anybody who opposes President Donald Trump's economic plan, meaning Democrats, is opposing higher wages for the American worker. And there's historical data to back that up, and there's current fiscal data to back that up. And if you don't support President Donald Trump now, then in the future, you're just going to look like a big idiot, a bigger idiot than you already look like. And some of these Democrats look like big idiots. And I'm not just talking about Jasmine Crockett, and I'm not just talking about Rosa DeLauro, and I'm not just talking about Nancy Pelosi, although they fit the bill. Oh, you know who looks like a big idiot? Not just a big idiot, but you know who looks like a big, huge hypocrite? Is Bernie Sanders. We reported to you last week that Bernie Sanders and AOC, remember they were flying around all these private jets on their Fight Oligarchy tour? They wanted to fight oligarchy. They were flying around from city to city to city. They went to like 5 different cities in a week, and they had these medium-sized rallies. And as they flew around to these cities and went to these medium-sized rallies, what they started to realize was that they couldn't do it by just flying commercial. They would fly private, and they would drop down in a town. They would go to a park, and they would scream, "Rich people stink. Billionaires are running this country. This is a country for the working class. This is a country for regular, average, ordinary Americans. This is your country. People, regular Americans are struggling, and the oligarchs are running Washington, D.C. And then after they made that very poignant message about how rich people run everything and they trample all over poor people, they would get on a very fancy executive jet, and they'd fly to whatever their next destination was. And that was what they did for a couple. That's what they did for a couple of weeks. That's what they've done for. A while. But now Bernie Sanders is being called out on it, and he's not apologizing. Bernie Sanders is being called out for what he's been doing, which is flying around on private jets. He goes, you know what? I'm fine with it.
You know, Alyssa Slotkin, senator from Michigan, she said you shouldn't be using oligarch. It's over people's head. You've gotten criticized from other people. Free Beacon says Bernie Sanders spent $221,000 on private jets fighting the oligarchy tour, paid for by friends of Bernie Sanders. That you've spent millions of dollars in campaign funds on private jet travel over the years. How do you push back on both of those things?
When's the last time you saw Donald Trump during a campaign mode at National Airport?
No. It doesn't. But he's also not fighting the oligarchy.
No. You run a campaign and you do 3 or 4 or 5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United, waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
And no apologies. No, listen, I'm not, you think I'm going to stand around in line at United? You think do you think I'm going to go and stand in line at United with 30,000 commoners? No way. Bernie Sanders wants you to believe that he's a man of the people, but he just doesn't want to be around the people. He's a man of the people, all right, but he's not going to stand in line with the people. He's a man of the people, but he is not going to fly United. He doesn't even want to fly first class. He wants his own plane. He's like, this is the only way you can get around. I'm not apologizing for it. What do you think? I'm going to stand in line at United like some commoner? I gotta fly over to San Diego and tell people that rich people suck. I can't do that by flying commercial. The only way to tell people rich people suck is to fly in the private jet. That's what I'm going to do. And I don't apologize for it. That's campaign. That's how we do it on the campaign. Now, somebody who doesn't fly private yet, but I'm sure it's on her bucket list, is Jasmine Crockett. And, she could probably tell Bernie Sanders, look, you don't actually have to stand in line. Because Jasmine Crockett, she doesn't stand in line. Here she is. Look at this. This is her at the airport. She's flying, I guess, Delta. And she's going somewhere. She's got her armed guard there. This is, by the way, an armed Capitol police officer, I believe, paid for by us, the taxpayers. And there's Jasmine Crockett with her little bag. She's got, by the way, this bag, I don't know if you know this, not the leather bag, but the bag on the bottom is, I forget the name brand, but this is a $1,200 suitcase. This rollerboard is, and it starts at, I mean, it starts at $1,200. There's other bells and whistles, but this is one of the top of the line suitcases that they make. It's about $1,200 just for the suitcase. I imagine this leather bag is pretty expensive as well. So she got some money, but look at this. See these people in the wheelchairs waiting to pre-board? Jasmine Crockett is not in a wheelchair. She's not waiting to pre-board. She's just actually standing there getting ready to cut in front of everybody. Because look, there's Jasmine Crockett. She's getting on the plane with her handler, and there's the pre-board passengers in the wheelchairs. And again, it's been a long time since I've flown and since I pre-boarded, but the way I remember it is pre-boarding is for families traveling with small children traveling alone, anyone who's older and may need a little extra assistance getting down the jetway. But I don't remember it being for uppity, angry, ignorant, elitist representatives from Texas. I guess they added that to the announcement, but she's like, nope, I'm just going to walk on by. I'm going to walk right on by. I'm going to go right down the jetway. I'm going to get right on the plane. And I don't care about these people in wheelchairs. And Bernie Sanders is like, I'm not going to stand around with all these people, all these regular folk. I'm going to fly private. Now, Bernie Sanders, I don't know if anyone reminded him of this, but he probably doesn't have to stand around either because he's way older than this woman. If Bernie Sanders showed up at the airport, they would happily give him a wheelchair and get him on the plane first. He wouldn't have to stand at all. They'd put him in a wheelchair. They'd put him on that little golf cart. They'd drive him right to his gate like they do. They'd put him on a wheelchair. They'd have an orderly, not an orderly, a sky cap. Orderly's the hospital. I'm getting ahead of myself. They'd put him right on the plane and they'd take him off too. But I guess, for him and for Jasmine Crockett, when you're a Democrat, you don't have to play by the same rules. When you're a Democrat, you don't have to do what the common folk do. In fact, you're not supposed to. The more you do what the common folk do, the less of a Democrat you actually are. I saw a Representative Kat Cammack. She was flying to DC. I guess about a month ago or so, and she took a picture of the seat that she was sitting in, and the arm had broken, and they put she called it duct tape, but it wasn't duct tape. It was that aluminum tape. They just taped it up with aluminum tape, which, by the way, that's a little janky for an airline to do. I don't know that I'd get on a plane where they were holding it together with aluminum tape. But I digress. But she took a picture of it and she was like, "Hey, here's how I fly. I fly regular." And I wrote her back. I was like, "You don't fly private? Because all your other cohorts do. All your friends in Congress are flying up there on private jets." And she's like, "Nope, I fly commercial. Not only that, I fly in the janky seat with the aluminum tape on it." It's really kind of interesting, the differentiate. And, Bernie Sanders started as a socialist. His whole thing, when he ran for his first office, which he won by 12 votes. And if you don't think, holy cow, if you don't think that your vote matters, look at this. If Bernie Sanders had lost his first mayoral election if like 13 more people had voted for his opponent, there would be no Senator Bernie Sanders. There would be no fight oligarchy tour. There would be no Bernie bros beating people up in red hats. There'd be none of that. You would have had a whole side of the Democrat Party that never would have existed if 13 more people had voted against Bernie Sanders in that one mayoral election in the small town in Vermont. I always say Connecticut, but it's Vermont. In Vermont. And now that led to this really crazy career. And when he used to be a socialist, now he's flying around on all of these jets. But that's how it is in the Democrat Party. It's always, you need to suffer for the cause. You people, the voters, you're suffering. We will go to Washington, D.C., and we will take care of you. And we're going to do it on private jets. And we're going to do it with big, expensive lunches. And we're going to do? We're going to get together in Cabo. And we're going to we're going to go to some private island, some private beach. And we're going to party with big donors. And we're going to party with special interest groups. And we're going to get all these, super PACs to pay for it, because that's how we serve you, the people. And it's not really how you serve the people at all. You serve the people by going into Congress, passing good bills, and throwing out the bad ones. But that doesn't happen either. There's, speaking of bills, Donald Trump is pushing the big, beautiful tax bill. He wants the tax cuts. He wants the tax cuts now. He's not going to get them now because Congress is starting another 4-day recess, but that's neither here nor there. He was on with Hugh Hewitt talking about how he wants this big, beautiful bill signed.
We got to get the tax bill done.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's a big thing. The one big, beautiful deal. That's what we want. And
it'll be the largest tax cut in history. Now, the alternative is you'll have a 68% jump if the Democrats get their way. Right. Now, who's going to vote for that? But you have a 68-point. Taxes will go up like at a level never seen before if they don't.
What they want.
I think there's a lot of pressure on Republicans even. There's a lot of pressure because we don't need grandstanders.
No, we don't.
And that's a dig on a couple of Republicans who voted against his bills in the past, Thomas Massey for one, because of the spending that comes along with it. And Donald Trump is like, look, we need these tax cuts. And that's what he's holding over everyone's head. He's like, we're going to have tax cuts. So what if the spending goes up? So what if the debt ceiling goes up? The tax cuts are what are important. And that's the next thing on his, he wants the perfect storm of economic growth. He's got tariffs in place. He wants to create this free market economy where we don't have any barriers and we're getting external revenue. He wants tax cuts and tax breaks to be permanent, because if there are tax cuts and tax breaks, then what's going to happen is that Donald Trump is going to be able to feed the economy, pump new life into the economy. People are going to have money and they're going to spend it on stuff. Now he just wants a rate cut so that people will go out and buy houses. He's not getting that from Jerome Powell, and he's kind of upset about that, but that's his plan for super economic growth. Manufacturing jobs coming into the country. If he can do it all, truly we are going to see a new golden age like we've never seen before. And there's going to be so much money flowing all over the place. It's going to be really exciting. Meanwhile, his team is working on all kinds of stuff. His team is putting plans in place to make sure that the borders are secure, that the illegal immigrants are getting out of here, that the economy is going to be fine, that there's peace all over the world, even though India and Pakistan are acting up. And speaking of peace all over the world and some of these conflicts, Columbia University, I got to be honest with you, whoever locked the doors at Columbia University, I think that's genius, and I think they deserve a raise. Columbia University, which I still don't know, Donald Trump's going to take it over. He's so mad at Columbia University. Last year, you may remember, they had these massive pro-Hamas protesters, anti-Israel. They took over the entire school. They camped out. They didn't shower. It was disgusting. They camped out in the whole front part of Columbia University there, which I'm going to be honest with you. I lived in New York. I don't think it's safe up there in the Bronx to be sleeping outside, but I digress. And then they broke into some of the buildings. They wreaked havoc. They had that whole thing where they were going to get, what's his name, Mahmoud Khalil, deported because he was here on a visa. And then there were even more Palestinian protests. Columbia graduates started ripping up their, I don't know why, they were ripping up their own diplomas. I don't know what that means. Donald Trump took hundreds of millions of dollars away from Columbia University, but it wasn't enough. Because guess what happened yesterday? Palestinian protesters, pro-Hamas advocates, went into the library again while students were studying for exams again, and they started chanting "Free Palestine" again. Yeah, and they're wearing the masks, and they're wearing the scarves, and they're wearing all this stuff, and they're beating the drums. And I always thought in the library, I was always told to be quiet. But what happened was they came in, and this is amazing because what they did was they came into the library in massive numbers. And once they were all in the library, security said, all right, well, let's just keep them in the library. So what they did was they locked the doors, and then all these pro-Hamas militant protesters realized they were stuck in the library. They thought they could come in. They thought they could act a fool. They thought they could vandalize the place. They thought they could chant "Free, free, free Palestine." They thought that they could be disruptors and then just walk out. And security was like, "No, we're going to lock the doors." And what they did was they said, "You need to show us an ID. And if you don't show us ID, you can't get out." Now, if you're just a student and you're studying and you show an ID, they'll let you out. You can go back to class, you can go back to your dorm, you can go to the bathroom and do whatever you want. But if you're a pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protester and you don't have an ID because you just walked in off the street or you've already been kicked out or whatever the reason, if you don't have that, then what they're going to do is they're going to arrest you. And that's exactly what they did. And people were furious. They were bum rushing the doors, man. They were so mad. And there's security. They're like, "You're not coming out. Sorry. Nope. Nope, you're not coming." And people are videotaping. Like, I don't know what they're videotaping for. You can do whatever you want. So they locked these people in there, and they said you can't come out until you show ID. I thought it was genius. And they started to arrest people. Now Marco Rubio's like, look, we're going to take a look at everybody's. We are going to take a look at everybody's ID. We're going to take a look at everybody's status. And if you are here illegally, or if you're on a student visa and you're coming in here and you're terrorizing the rest of the students, we're going to take that student visa away and you're going to go home. And I didn't realize, I knew there were a lot of foreign students at Columbia. I had no idea how many, but it's a lot.
Over half of Columbia's enrollment is foreign students, and they're the ones, of course, who pay full tuition. Yeah. And so of the general studies student population. And that raises two questions. One, why is the American taxpayer, the Free Press reported that, $400 million in federal grants have been yanked. Why are American taxpayers paying to educate people who aren't Americans? And two, it raises this question about immigration and which way the cultural exchange is going.
Mm-hmm. So the other day, 2 days ago, I do believe, right? This is Wednesday. So I think on Monday, Harvard froze hiring. Mm-hmm. What do you make of that? How do you read that?
It's interesting because a lot of these federal grants go to the hard sciences. So the professors who are supporting the protesters, supporting, BDS resolutions, saying, screw it to the administration, they're not the ones who are going to get pinched by the fact that Trump is pulling grant funding. So you're going to see a civil war within the universities of the serious researchers saying, hey, we just want to do our research. We don't want to get, in this, fight with the administration over this, versus the ones who say, no, this is the hill we're going to die on.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. But two things. First of all, Columbia, the students at Columbia, half of the university, they're foreigners. They're here from other countries. They're not American students. They're from all over the world. They come to Columbia, and we give them $400 million. We're giving $400 million to Columbia University to teach kids who aren't even from the United States of America. That's your tax dollars, by the way. Donald Trump has taken that away. Same thing at Harvard. I don't know what the numbers are at Harvard as far as the foreign students go, but what she brought up was an interesting point. Once you take the money away and Harvard stops spending it, you're going to see what she called a civil war erupt within the university. And I think that that's telling. I think that's poignant. And that's a great tactic, probably, that Donald Trump had in mind the entire time. But the people who need the money, the researchers who rely on government grants, the laboratories, the medical students, the people who just don't give a rat's patootie about your politics. They don't care about Hamas. They don't care about Gaza. They don't care about Israel. They're not the historians or the politicos or the law students. They're not the humanitarians or the poets or the women's studies mate. It doesn't matter. They don't care. They just want to go in there and play with their beakers and their Bunsen burners. And they want money so that when they turn on the Bunsen burner, there's gas. They want to know that when they go to the supply cabinet to get another pipette, that there's going to be pipettes there. They want to know that they're going to continue to be able to eat, that they're going to get their grants and their stipends and their paychecks to do their research. That's all they care about. And if the money dries up because these other idiots are acting a fool, then they're going to start yelling and screaming about those other idiots who are acting a fool. And eventually there's going to be some kind of come to Jesus meeting in the higher ups at Harvard University as to whether or not they're going to allow this woke culture to destroy what Harvard is known for, which is their research and everything else, or if they're going to just call it quits and go back to the job that people hired them to do, which was to teach kids stuff. Not bad stuff, good stuff. It's very interesting. Speaking of bad stuff and good stuff, Kash Patel was on Capitol Hill. Kash Patel went up to Capitol Hill and it's amazing to me how I always forget how smart Kash Patel is. I think that he should just sit in front of Congress and answer questions all day, because it's really, first of all, entertaining, it's informative, and he's clearly got a knack for it. When he was going through his confirmation hearing as the director of the FBI, he mopped the floor with any and all of these people who were trying to paint him as somebody less qualified or somebody who was, I guess you would say, radicalized. Like a radical, MAGA, crazy person that was going to use the FBI to shut down the government. That's not the case at all. And when he was asked questions, he handled these Democrats like a pro. I mean, Democrats are not the smartest people in the world as it is, but listen to him with what's his name, Ed Markey.
It concerns me that you're not familiar with the core concept of due process applying to all persons as written in black and white in the Constitution.
As the first public defender who's ever served at the FBI as its director, I am more aware of due process than any predecessor in my seat. You are delineating between removal proceedings and criminal acts. My job is to investigate criminal acts. That's what we do.
Boom. FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, investigates criminal acts. He's not talking about the deportation. That's a totally different department. He's not talking about the immigration judges. That's not what he does. If you commit a crime, whether you're illegal or legal, if you're a legal American citizen or an illegal alien, whether you commit a crime, you're a criminal, and that's what he investigates. Once he's investigated that crime and made his determination, he can then turn them over to immigration forces, and there is a delineation between the criminal proceedings and the removal process. And Markey's trying to catch him on that, and he's like, "Look, dude, you can't catch me. I was a prosecutor. I know more about due process than anybody." Dean, what's his name? What's her name? Senator Dean tried to trip him up with some stupid thing about January 6th and her being on the, she was an impeachment manager, and she worked to impeach President Donald Trump, and she asked Kash Patel when she should expect him to come arrest her.
As you and the president continue to weaponize and investigate his perceived enemies, as you follow this blueprint, when can I, a former impeachment manager, expect the FBI at my door?
Ma'am, you want to know who was targeted by a weaponized FBI? Me. You want to know how and why?
Well,
you want to know what I'm doing to fix it?
That. Let me move on.
Well, you should read the book because there's no enemies list on that book. There are people that violated their constitutional obligations and their duties to the American people, and they were rightly called out. And you should give that book to every one of your constituents so they can read about it.
I'm changing topics. I don't like the way you're answering my question, so I don't like that you've proven to be smarter than I am, so I'm changing topics. This is a guy, by the way, who was prosecuted and persecuted by the FBI, by the DOJ. This is a guy who was chosen for the FBI simply because he had firsthand knowledge of how the FBI acts against American citizens. And now she's out there saying, are you going to weaponize the FBI against American citizens? When should I expect you to come and arrest me? It would have been great, if it were me, I would have snapped my fingers and had like agents come and arrest her right there. That would have been a flex. But that's not what he did. He opted to say, "Ma'am, you're talking to the wrong person when it comes to this stuff." Rosa DeLauro, who's old and has purple hair and has lava lamps, plural, in her office, accused him of weaponizing the FBI and not going after real criminals.
By instilling a culture of fear and retaliation, you're undermining the Bureau's employees and undermining the Bureau's ability to stave off terrorist attacks and keep violent criminals off of our streets.
Okay, she literally says to him, "You are making it difficult for the FBI to do its job, and that is keeping criminals off of our streets." Later that same day, Pam Bondi and Kash Patel made a public announcement at a press conference where they had just gotten over 100 criminals off the streets.
Today, we are proud to announce the results of the FBI's Operation Restore Justice initiative. This historic, unprecedented nationwide operation led to the arrest of 205 child sex predators. Unbelievable. In just 5 days. This was an incredible operation done in conjunction with the FBI and our prosecutors. Children and their families now have a chance to heal. These are online predators. Think about this. 115 victims, children. In 5 days, we were able to help. These depraved human beings, if convicted, will face the maximum penalty in prison, some life. We will find you, we will arrest you, and we will charge you. If you are online targeting a child, you will not escape us. The FBI and the Department of Justice will come after you, and we will prosecute you.
All right, so Pam Bondi's got Kash Patel there, and they're talking about how they're going after child predators. They're going after men who go on the internet and try to hook up with little girls. And I guess little boys. I guess children of all kinds. It doesn't matter. If you're a pedophile and you have criminal intent and you're a sexual deviant, we're going to find you and we're going to come after you, and there is nowhere you can hide. And Kash Patel, I mean, he basically, he stood by that statement and doubled down on it.
I also want to just take a moment to emphasize the priority of this Department of Justice and this FBI. Our children. If you harm our children, you will be given no sanctuary. There is no place we will not come to hunt you down. There is no place we will not look for you. And there is no cage we will not put you in should you do harm to our children. The prioritization of this administration and General Bondi has made it abundantly clear to child predators, you will be hunted down and you will be prosecuted. And that is a refreshing thing to hear for the men and women who do this work tirelessly. And it's also an acknowledgement of the safety that we look forward to bringing America.
Now, Representative Rosa DeLauro says, you know what? We're concerned that you are making it harder for the FBI to do their job, and that is get criminals off of the streets. Yet there they are getting criminals off of the streets. It's really kind of interesting to see. One of the other things that happened was that Senator John Kennedy, and I have a lot of clips. I got a lot of Kash clips. Senator John Kennedy asked Kash Patel about whether or not there was going to be any movement or whether there was going to be any new information about the Epstein files. The Epstein files, as you know, there's questions about whether or not they exist. There's questions about whether or not they're still around. There's questions about whether or not we're ever going to see them. And I don't think I have this clip, so I'm going to have to search for it real quick. And I promise we're going to get to trans or Trump, because that was one of my new favorite games. Hang on one second, John Kennedy. I'll play this clip right off of the internet because, again, in true John Kennedy style, he asks the hard questions, but he does it in a way that's somewhat friendly. Let me just get the appropriate clip here. Here he is yesterday at the Senate committee meeting, and he's talking with Kash Patel. He's asking the question that a lot of Americans are asking, and that is, where are these blankety blank Epstein files?
Person with a brain and a beating heart.
Yes, sir.
Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself, or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When you think you'll have it done, Kash?
I think in the near future, sir.
Like before I die?
Senator, we've been working on that, and we're doing it in a way that protects victims and also doesn't put out into the ether information that is irrelevant for production of the public, such as CSAM.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so he's like, look, we understand that you're busy. We understand that you're working, but we're also getting a little impatient. Are you going to release these Epstein files before we die, or before John Kennedy dies? And Kash Patel says that basically is the plan. But it's interesting to see here how the FBI in just 100 days has shifted its focus, and they're going after criminals, but not like fake made up liberal criminals, not like parents at PTA meetings who are trying to make sure that their kids don't have to wear masks or get vaccinated or listen to woke ideology and DEI crap about how many genders there are. They're going after real criminals, not fake criminals, like Catholics who are doing a Latin mass, which is something the FBI also, they're not going after fake criminals like Donald Trump and his wife Melania and whatever they were hoping to find in her underwear drawer when they searched Mar-a-Lago with the order to use deadly force if necessary against a former president and a former first lady. We have an FBI that's going after real criminals, not fake criminals, like the protesters on January 6th who were peaceably protesting outside the Capitol building, many of whom were arrested, many of whom Tom Tillis thinks are still guilty. And for that reason, he's not going to be supporting President Donald Trump's nominee. By the way, Donald Trump mentioned that in his Oval Office press briefing. He said that he is withdrawing the name that he has chosen for the U.S. Senate, the U.S. District Court judge because of Tom Tillis.
Yeah, but he's a terrific person, and he wasn't getting the support from people that I thought. He's done a very good job. Crime is down 25% in D.C. During his period of time. I'm very disappointed in that, but I have so many different things that I'm doing now with the trade. I'm one person. I can only make, boom, I can only lift that little phone so many times in a day. But we have somebody else that will be great. I just want to say Ed is unbelievable, and hopefully we can bring him into, whether it's DOJ or whatever, in some capacity, because really outstanding. To me, it was disappointing, I'll be honest. I have to be straight. I was disappointed. A lot of people were disappointed. But that's the way it works sometimes. That's the way it works. And he wasn't rejected, but we felt it would be hard. And we have somebody else that we'll be announcing over the next 2 days who's going to be great.
Who's going to be great? Now, Donald Trump, now that's Ed Bennett, by the way, who Tom Tillis came out and said, I'm not going to support him, even though we came to some agreements, even though I like the way he defended his judgments, I'm not going to support him. And Tom Tillis is butthurt over January 6th for some reason. So he's going to torpedo Donald Trump's choice for the U.S. District Court in D.C. And it's really now, and what Donald Trump said there is poignant. And I have to imagine Tom Tillis knew this, and I'm not really sure. I'm not 100. I don't like that Donald Trump said it because I think it's going to give some other people ideas. Donald Trump is a very busy man. We talked about yesterday. Yesterday, he met with the Canadian Prime Minister. He met with the FIFA task force. He held a press conference. Today, he held a press conference. Then there's a new pope. Then he's got to go somewhere else. Then he's got a fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago. Then he's got to go do this. Then he's meeting with some other ambassador. Then he's got to, there's so much going on. He's got cabinet meetings. Donald Trump is signing executive orders like there's no tomorrow. He did a press conference this morning with the Prime Minister of the UK on the phone for like an hour and a half. The prime minister, everyone's just standing there. And I feel bad for Donald Trump's staff. I mean, I don't. They're all rich and powerful and they get to hang out in the White House. But they have to stand there for like an hour. I mean, they're standing, but J.D. Vance is standing behind President Donald Trump like this for an hour, not saying a word. Donald Trump's on the phone. Keir Starmer, who's also wordy. He's a wordy bastard. He's sitting there and he's chit-chatting galore, blah, 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 trade deals, this, that, VE day, yada, yada, yada. Then the media comes in, they start asking questions, and Donald Trump, he loves to answer questions. And J.D. Vance just standing there for like an hour. Howard Lutnick standing there for like a Brooke Collins. She actually started to talk, and Donald Trump Brooke Collins, she couldn't go an hour without talking. She's like, yes, thank you, Mr. President. And he's like, yeah, okay, we're good. But they just stand there in the background while Donald Trump does all this stuff. He doesn't have time to call. He said, I can't pick up the phone and yell at everybody. I can't pick up the phone and go, Tom Tillis, what is wrong with you? I'm going to fly. I'm going to bring Air Force One. Think about this, because I know you're up for re-election. I'm going to bring Air Force One. I'm going to land it in downtown Raleigh. And I'm going to call everybody together, and I'm going to have a press con. I'm going to have a rally. I'm going to have a rally in Raleigh, and I'm going to say, Tom Tillis is a traitor to the cause. Tom Tillis is not MAGA. Tom Tillis is not the guy you want representing you. Then we're going to get back on Air Force One, and we're going to fly down to Charlotte. And guess what? We're going to have another rally. And we're going to have a rally in Charlotte, and we're going to say, Tom Tillis needs to be primaried. And I'm going to bring in somebody new. I haven't decided yet, but they're going to be somebody that I handpick. And I'm going to say, this is the person you should vote for. Run, person, run. That's what Donald Trump's going to do. In fact, I imagine the run, person, run tweet or Truth Social post is already being crafted by whoever is working behind the scenes. Somebody in North Carolina, in the GOP, somebody in the White House is already looking. Somebody in the Senate is already thinking, okay, who do we have in North Carolina that can beat Tom Tillis? Who's going to be the person that's going to primary Tom Tillis? How can President Donald Trump get involved? And that run, person, run tweet or truth is going to be coming out real soon. And then when it's election season, Donald Trump, is going to be making his way to North Carolina, a great state, a state that I won by a lot. That's what he's going to do. He's going to get up on stage and be like, as you know, North Carolina, I love North Carolina. It's a great state. I won this state by a lot. They said I wasn't going to win, but I won by a lot. I love North Carolina. That's what he's going to say. And then he's going to bring on somebody who's not Tom Tillis and he's going to primary him because Donald Trump doesn't have time to pick up the phone and yell at everybody. He's yelling at Thomas Massey. He's got to yell at this guy. He's got to make sure there's no grandstanders. Tom Tillis he's like, fine, just find the guy at a position at the DOJ. Let's get somebody else out there and just let Tom Tillis know that his days are numbered. Okay? Sometimes that's the decision. It can't be a battle. It can't be an aim. And look, and don't think that some of these senators and some of these representatives don't think they do this on purpose. They do. A lot of them do this, not just to grandstand, but because they want the president of the United States to call them. They will vote one way or vote against the president or gum up the works or become a grandstander or become a fly in the ointment or cross their entire constituency just because they want to be able to say, I just got off the phone with the president. They want to be able to go on the news, go back to their constituents and say, I spoke with the president and we came to an agreement. You didn't speak with the president. You sat and listened while the president ripped you a new one. But they're going to twist it as, I just got off the phone with the president. That's all they want. And that's the reason they do it. There was an episode of The West Wing, and I kid you not, The West Wing is one of my favorite shows. And I know it was a Democrat president. I know they're all a bunch of liberals. I know Bradley Whitford, it was one of the white dudes for Harris. I know Martin Sheen has been arrested for like being a huge lib. I get it. But the show's incredible. And the more I pay attention to politics, the more episodes of the West Wing actually become reality. For example, there was an episode where a freshman congressman was not voting the way that the president wanted him to vote. And they called the freshman congressman to the White House and they put him in the room, and Bradley Whitford walked in and said, dude, I've known you forever. We got your seat. What's going on? Why aren't you voting the way we want to vote? And he goes, because I've never met the president. And Bradley Whitford says, what are you talking about? He goes, I've been here for like a year. I've never met the president. I don't have any photo ops with him. I've never shaken his hand. I go back to my district and people are like, do you know the president? And I go, no. He goes, you need to get me some FaceTime with the president. And it was some important bill about like healthcare or guns. I don't know. And the guy's literally saying, I'm voting against this bill because I knew you would call me to the White House. And now I can get a photo op with the president. And Bradley Whitford looks at him and goes, you make me sick. You were sent here to serve people and instead you're trying to serve yourself. And then he got what he wanted. He got like a chess game. He got like a chess game and a cup of brandy or a glass of brandy with the president, and they took some photos and he got to go off. But you think to yourself, oh my God, that can't really happen. But it happens. It happened back then. It happens today. These people want Donald Trump's attention so bad that they're willing to go against him just to get some attention from him. They're like, teenagers that act up. Why did you steal beer? Why'd you take my car when you weren't supposed to? Why'd you sneak out? Why are you dating that person with all the tattoos on their face? It's not because they like the person with all the tattoos on their face. It's because they want their parents' attention. There's so many representatives out there and congresspeople and senators who want the president's attention that they're willing to go against him just to get it. Speaking of people who want attention, Jasmine Crockett. I got to tell you, this could be one of my favorite things ever. If I were still on the radio and we had a phone, I would definitely play this game. It's called Trump or Trans. Is it called Trans? And wait a minute. It's either Trump or Trans or Trump. This was at the hearing about the fencing. This is, you may remember that the NCAA fencing, whatever it was, or the National Fencing Alliance, I don't even know what it was. But the fencers allowed biological men to fence against biological women, and the one woman took a knee and she said, I ain't doing that. And they disqualified her. And now there's a big hearing about it. Well, there was a hearing on Capitol Hill yesterday, and Jasmine Crockett played Trump or Trans.
Essentially, they closed the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights. Again, sounds like they are fighting for us. And instead of providing oversight over these actions, Congressional Republicans have been working to execute one of the most aggressive anti-women legislative agendas in history, and yet they're here today trying to convince the American people that discriminating against trans people is somehow the only way to protect women. This hearing has nothing to do with improving government efficiency. It's another attempt by Republicans to distract from their demonic and disastrous policies that are making it more difficult for Americans to make ends meet. So, Ms. Goss-Graves, I want to play a game. It's called Trump or Trans. You ready? Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to tell me whether or not it is Trump or trans people that are responsible. You understand?
Got it.
Okay, very good. The first one, gutted medical research.
Trump.
Kidnapping Americans and sending them to foreign countries, AKA deporting them.
Trump.
Driving us into a recession.
Trump.
Increasing the cost of everything.
Trump.
Waging an idiotic tariff war.
Trump.
Harming farmers.
Trump.
Ignoring the Constitution.
Trump.
Proposing to take away Social Security.
Trump.
Cutting health care.
Trump.
Firing government workers who keep our country safe.
Trump.
Encouraging an environment of hate and divisiveness.
Trump.
Now that last one, by the way, was every single one of those, by the way, is a false statement. Every single one of those is a lie. Everything she just said. In fact, I want to roll through them again.
To tell me whether or not it is Trump or trans people that are responsible. You understand?
Got it.
Okay, very good. The first one, gutted medical research.
Trump.
Okay, that is false. There's no gutting of medical research. Medical research has not been gutted by anybody. What's been cut out is waste, fraud, and abuse, and research into things that are not medically accurate or necessary to know. Yes, we've taken away funding for medical research about whether or not queer rats are more into techno or EDM. Yeah, we've cut that research because that's not necessary to the evolution of society. That's not cutting medical research. That's cutting waste, fraud, and abuse.
Kidnapping Americans and sending them to foreign countries, AKA deporting them.
Trump.
Okay, that's also false. Not one American has been deported by President Donald Trump. Not one American has been kidnapped. Abrego Garcia is not American. She's buying into the fake narrative that he was a Maryland man. He's not. He's an El Salvadoran illegal gang member who beats his wife. The children that were taken from America with their mom were taken by their mom, not deported by President Donald Trump. Yes, they were American citizens. Their mother said, Lo siento, you're coming with me because you're 2, 4, 7 years old.
Driving us into a recession.
Trump.
There's no recession. Have you not seen the stock market? I'm looking at the ticker in the corner of the TV. It's up again. We're in the green. The stock market has never been higher. There is no recession, and we're not on the brink of a recession. Not only is she saying driving us near a recession, she's like, oh, we're in a recession. Oh, no, we ain't.
Increasing the cost of everything.
Trump.
Also false. The cost of a lot of things are down. Eggs have plummeted over almost 80%. Gas, the price of gas is down. Costs are declining on pretty much everything. And because there are tariffs in place, which jack up the cost of some products that can be replaced with American-made alternatives, the left likes to use this as a narrative.
Waging an idiotic tariff war.
Trump.
Okay. Also false. It's not idiotic and it's not a tariff war. He put tariffs on different countries, and guess what? Now they're all saying, okay, let's make a deal. Canada's coming to make a deal. UK just made a deal. China's making a deal. It's only a war if you fight. But these countries aren't fighting back. They're negotiating. They're negotiating a peace.
Harming farmers.
Trump.
I don't even know what that's about.
Ignoring the Constitution.
Trump.
Ignoring the Constitution. Also, no Democrat should ever talk about ignoring the Constitution. When you look at the bogus impeachment efforts, not once but twice, that they brought against President Donald Trump. When you look at this idiot with the bad wig who looks like Jimmy Fallon, who's talking about 7 different counts of impeaching Donald Trump for nothing that is constitutionally applicable. I mean, again, it's insanity.
Proposing to take away Social Security.
Trump.
Donald Trump has repeatedly said, I'm not taking away Social Security. I'm not touching Social Security. I'm not touching Medicaid. I'm not doing any of those things.
Cutting health care.
Trump.
Donald Trump has not cut health care. Also false.
Firing government workers who keep our country safe.
Trump.
Donald Trump has not fired any government workers who keep our country safe. He's fired government workers who are redundant or aren't showing up for work or have taken a buyout of their own recognizance. I mean, Donald Trump has not fired anyone who is irreplaceable or who is necessary to the ongoing safety and security of the United States.
Encouraging an environment of hate and divisiveness.
Trump.
I mean, that is just rich, seeing as how she's the one that said Ted Cruz should be punched, Elon Musk should be taken out, and a bunch of other ridiculous crap that I don't want to get into right now because I've been going on. Look, the Pope thing took a long time. I get it. But thank you so much for joining me today. We got to wrap it up. I appreciate you being here. Don't forget to subscribe because we're here all the time. Subscribe to this channel, set the notifications, make sure you like us, make sure you share us. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast as well, because we want to continue to bring you this information. We want to continue to let you know everything that's going on, everybody who's fighting against you, everybody who does not have your best interest at heart, everybody who's manipulating the system for their own personal gain. We want to go after the bad people in politics. We want to root them out, whatever side they're on, because that's the only way that we're all going to continue to fight. We're all going to continue to win, and we're all going to continue to save the Republic. Now, I apologize because of the Pope. We are not able to do an after party today, but we will do one tomorrow in place of today's after party, maybe. And also, I have an update on a Kaye's Kid, which we weren't able to get to today either. So we will get to that Kaye's Kid here in